Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Mark with ExoticCar PlayPlace. Today, yes, I'm sitting beside the Porsches, and that's what today's topic is all about, is the 996 Turbo. The 996 Porsche Turbo, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated, undervalued Porsches, or Porsche Turbos for sure, in the last decade at least. And why is that? Well, a large reason for that, I think, is the fact that it's associated with one of the most unreliable Porsches, which is a 996 Carrera or Carrera 4. The Carrera from the 996 has the IMS bearing issue. A lot of people get scared of that. So today I'm going to talk about the 996 Turbo and really want to get down to the fact of the 996 Turbo as a project car. If you saw my last video, I was over at Ed's shop. So we landed at Ed's shop here. We're going to take a look at his 996 Turbo here and talk about the modifications that he's about to embark on here to try to improve the performance of his 996 Turbo. And he's got a 996 Turbo that he's got modified. And he's basically started with some simple modifications. And if you watch that last video, this is basically the second video in a series of videos regarding the 996 Turbo. And the first video really was some of the minor modifications that Ed had started in his car. One of which being he hollowed out the cats. Another one was he basically sent the ECU out to get reflashed, which bumped up the output because it adjusted the timing as well as the boost pressure. So some minor changes were done there to Ed's car. Well, now Ed's getting ready to do the next stage. So we're talking about the next stage in the 996 Turbo project. And so we're ready to start the next phase. And the next phase, we're going to show you some of the results of that whole situation once the parts are installed. But right now, for the time being, I'm going to explain to you what some of that next stage looks like. And you know what? I'm going to reach out to you guys because we're actually looking for some advice from you guys, the fans out there that have a real good insight and a perspective on what works in these cars. So again, we're talking a 2002 911 Turbo, which is the 996 Turbo. And so far he's got the hollowed cats. The ECU's been flashed for 1 bar boost. And so we're looking at the next stage. So right now, Ed knows for sure we need to upgrade the injectors because we're going to be putting more pressure to the engine. So firstly, we know that we're going to be putting in 80-pound injectors. That's a must-do for this car. So the 80-pound injectors is one part. The next part is we're likely going to be doing some sort of an intercooler upgrade. Now, haven't confirmed that yet. Maybe you guys have some advice there. So I'm reaching out to you, but the GT2 intercooler is one consideration. Now, Ed's considering bumping up the output pressure or the manifold pressure on this car. And by doing that, you're going to take tolls on other parts. Some of that, of course, being the intercooler, of course. So, for the sake of protecting the intercooler, because the regular intercooler is plastic housing, and if you apply too much pressure, you can split that thing, or there's a risk of that. So, there's a potential, do we look at the plastic intercooler or do we look at the aluminum intercooler, depending on how much pressure we put to the engine. So, haven't worked out the intercooler details. The other thing is turbos will be upgraded for sure. The other thing that we're going to look at is the intake. Now, if you saw my last video, you know that those intakes are quite restricted. As a matter of fact, they funnel right down to very, very thin pancake. So that flat piping there kills performance. That's really on these factory 996 turbos, that's where a major bottleneck happens to exist. And so that will be likely something that Ed's going to be upgrading here very shortly. Now some of that might have an Venturi effect, but either way, those are very limited and they are very restricting. So that's part of the change on this, is to get rid of that piping, because that's coming off your air filters. So we're going to remove the intake air filter system, the factory stuff, remove that restricted piping, and we're going to install a set of cone filters in the fender wells. That's the other upgrade. So we're going to reduce the restriction with better intake flow and filters, upgrade the intercoolers. We're going to go with a larger turbo and 80-pound injectors to support that on the fueling side of things. Already we have the cats taken care of. And so likely we'll be doing a reflash as well of the ECU once these other upgrades are in place. But ultimately, the goal for this car is somewhere we want to shoot for 650 to 700 horsepower. That's what we're trying to achieve with this car. So do you have any thoughts on what you'd recommend for the turbos? Do you have any recommendations on the intercooler? But stick around. I'm going to show you. We're going to, probably on the next video for the 911 996 turbo upgrade project, we're going to be featuring more of the installation on that, and we'll be explaining more of the reasons why we did what we did and how we came about it and what we pretty much expected for an output. So everybody, I just wanted to kind of share that with you. The next phase, we're starting to order parts. So I just wanted to get into this. Like I said, the injectors are being ordered. We're researching the intercooler and the turbos, and the intake piping with the filters are also going to be researched and purchased here shortly. So everybody, for now, that's all I wanted to share with you. Just a quick update on that 996 turbo project. I hope you liked the video, but please guys, I'm actually looking for some advice here. I know there's a lot of very smart people out there with great experience and have a lot of, have done the trial and error and know what works, have seen it and what's reliable. So please share that with me. I'd appreciate that in the comment section below, everybody. And as well, don't forget to subscribe for sure to my channel. That way you'll be able to follow along all these videos. As well, turn on those notifications so you do get notified when the video comes up. Mark here again. Thanks again. Signing out with ExoticCar PlayPlace. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.